Good evening. Once again, we apologize for the inconvenience. We had a little bit of trouble working with our YouTube feed. We did put a note up on our district website indicating that the YouTube feed presently is not working. We do have somebody working on that feed so that hopefully during the course of the meeting, we will get the YouTube feed corrected. So as of now, we would like to have all traffic come into the Zoom platform. We have not reached our capacity yet on this venue, but nonetheless, I'd like to welcome you to our first virtual school board meeting. Tonight's school board meeting is being held using the webinar feature of Zoom, and we would like to thank the Pennsylvania School Board Association for providing all school districts across the state of Pennsylvania with access, free access to Zoom to conduct their school board meetings during these unprecedented times. Please know this meeting we are attempting to stream it live via YouTube, and that we also are recording this meeting as well. Community members or employees seeking to make comments this evening regarding an item on the agenda must register using the Zoom invitation provided on our website. Please note that when you enter the meeting, your microphone has been muted and your video has also been disabled. These are for security purposes. If you would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of the screen. If you hover your mouse down around the bottom of the screen, you will see the raise hand feature. And you will also see the feature for asking a question. It's a Q&A feature on there as well. Q&A you can use to ask questions and then also be able to help out with any technology support that you need during tonight's meeting. When you are granted the floor to speak, our host, Mr. Jones, will unmute your microphone and you will be able to speak. We are attempting to create an environment that simulates a real world board meeting in a face-to-face environment. We do appreciate your patience as we explore this new platform with Zoom. And again, thank you for joining us this evening. I'd like to turn things back over to our school board president, Mr. Jim Schreiber, to begin the meeting.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. I'll echo what John said. I hope everyone bears with us as we attempt to navigate this tool and conduct our business in a transparent method as possible. This is a rescheduled meeting, originally scheduled for March 17th, 2020, but now I'll officially call to order the April 7th, 2020 voting meeting. First order of business, I guess, would be to have the Pledge of Allegiance. If we go to the flag on the, there we go, thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the secretary please call the roll? Michelle, if you're on mute, there we go.
Director Frank.
Present.
Director Honchar.
Here.
Director O'Brien.
Here.
Director Russo.
Here.
Director Zaletsky.
Here.
Director Simsick. Director Simsick.
Here.
Director Apple. Director Apple.
I believe he's at the Parkway meeting.
Okay. Director Mendoza.
Here.
Director Shriver.
Here. And yes, Kelly, thank you for clarifying. Joe is at the Parkway meeting virtually. He'll be joining us shortly.
It looks like Joe just joined us.
Perfect. Thank you, David.
They just finished up. Here I am, present.
All right.
Awesome. Before we open up the meeting to comments from the public for agenda items tonight, I wanted to turn it to our superintendent and let John share some opening thoughts on some of our agenda items tonight. John, do you have some things to share with the public?
I do, Mr. Shriver, thank you. Wanted to briefly provide an update on the accomplishments that we've had over the past few weeks with our remote learning plans. As many of you have recognized, many of us caught off guard on March 13th. In the afternoon, we made the decision along with 42 other school districts across Allegheny County to close for a period of 10 days. And we wanted to take that time to assess how the coronavirus would have an impact on our local community during that time. Later that afternoon, Governor Wolf announced that he would be closing all schools across the state of Pennsylvania, including all charter schools and cyber charter schools as well. The following week, many school districts, including Carlynton, worked diligently to provide plans to provide educational services to all of our students across the district while adhering to all local, state, and federal policies. That created a challenge for many school districts. But what we did recognize very quickly as the week drew to a close, we recognized that the closure was not going to be short-term, and we did need to put some plans in place that would be more long-term to approach the learning for all of our students. We put our plans in place and we move forward. There's a number of people who did some amazing things over the past few weeks. Our support staff contributed by placing phone calls out to every household, every family in the school district to survey their technology needs, whether or not they had computers, whether or not they had access through internet. They collected a lot of information for us. Our technology department then responded and did an outstanding job by quickly going through our buildings and securing all of our Chromebooks that we had. They also put in orders for additional Chromebooks to be purchased. They arrived last Thursday. And then put together a distribution plan where we were able to distribute several hundred Chromebooks out to our community and out to our students who required these tools to be able to learn in a digital environment. They did a fantastic job getting a lot of those resources together very quickly. As you also know, our food service program pulled together, distributed meals to students daily. There's some schools across the local region here that are only providing meals 2 or 3 times a week. We're doing it every day. We're doing a fantastic job at everything that we're doing. At each of those days, we're handing out both a breakfast and a lunch all in one stop. We're presently serving up to 150 meals per day. Our custodians, they continued to report shortly after the closure. They did a deep clean of all of our facilities. Today, they continue to report back to our facilities and make sure that those parts of the building that are being used for essential services are also being sanitized and cleaned on a daily basis. Our maintenance crew continues to maintain our facilities so that our buildings and grounds are safe and they're functioning. All of these groups have done an outstanding job. We greatly appreciate their commitment. As many of you know, at Carlynton, we don't specialize in online learning. We specialize in building off of that human interaction in the classroom with our teachers. And they do a fantastic job with that interaction in our classrooms. We're not accustomed to designing classes online, but our teachers responded very quickly. They had an idea during the first week that our curriculum would be moving online, but they did not receive formal notice until that second week. And they had a very short period of time to take their classes, that face-to-face environment, and try to do their best to replicate it in a digital environment. So they transformed their face-to-face into that digital environment, and they did a fantastic job. I think all of you have recognized we got a lot of feedback from students and also from parents as well. We appreciate that feedback. Please keep it coming. But our teachers, they certainly did an outstanding job. It's not easy to teach online, and at the same time, it's not easy to learn online. It requires dedication, self-motivation, and the ability to think critically while solving problems and very often working independently. So we thank our students for their dedication that they've had over the past few weeks adapting to this online environment. And to our parents as well. It's not easy to manage your daily routine and your responsibilities while adhering to the needs of your children as well as they learn in the home. So it truly has been a team effort, and we're very thankful for everyone to make this a success. Moving on to tonight's board agenda. Tonight's board agenda calls for the elimination of 6 positions across the district, 3 at our elementary schools and 3 at our junior senior high school. Now, over the past 10 years, the district has experienced a decline in the number of students that we provide services to. Specifically, we have noticed a decrease of 5.91%. This data can be accessed at home by going on to education.pa.gov, and you can search the financial data elements in their search bar. On that page, you'll see a link for average daily membership of all schools across Pennsylvania. Naturally, a decline in enrollment has an impact on the necessary staff to provide services to our students. The positions on the agenda this evening are health and physical education position at the elementary level, a health and physical education position at the junior senior high school, a high school math, a high school English, and an elementary counselor, and a 6th grade position at Carlynton. Elimination of position often causes an immediate reaction to reduction of services. I would like to address these concerns broadly and provide additional context. Beginning at the junior senior high school level, currently we have 604 students enrolled in grades 7 through 12. We currently have 7 math teachers, 4 health and physical education teachers, and 8 English and reading teachers that provide instruction to our students. As an example, a reduction of 1 math teacher would take us to 6 math teachers. These 6 teachers can teach a total of 32 sections. If we have 604 students in our junior senior high school, 7 through 12, with these 32 sections, that creates an average class size of less than 20 students per class. It's not to say that we're going to be able to cap each of our classes at 20 students, but it is to say, for example, if we have a class of 24, that also means somewhere we will most likely have a class of 14. Moving to the elementary level, a 6th grade elementary position is proposed for elimination. This position was originally put into place to accommodate for a larger class size at Carlynton Elementary. These students will now be transitioning from 6th grade to 7th grade and being absorbed into the junior senior high school. In regard to the counseling and health and physical education teacher at the elementary level, our plans moving forward are to provide all students at the elementary level with more classroom instruction in the area of social and emotional learning. Social emotional learning skills include self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Anytime we try to add programming, we also need to find the room during the regular school day. Therefore, our plan moving forward is to look to balance the health and physical education instruction with social and emotional education from our school counselor. By having more classroom exposure, we are stressing a more proactive instruction in the area of counseling. This is not to say that our school counselors are not proactive with their approach. They are, and they're very good at what they do, and they're very good at providing very important services to our students. This move puts a counselor in the classroom setting, teaching valuable skills that have a direct impact on student achievement and healthy lifestyles. In addition to our counseling team, we are very grateful to have 2 highly qualified school psychologists who are able to provide additional services to our students. We can realign our school psychologists so their sole responsibility is to care for the students in their building. Once again, thank all of you for joining us this evening. And at this time, I would like to turn things back over to Mr. Shriver.
Thank you, John. Thank you for laying all of that out. I appreciate the background. I believe we're moving into the time for the public to comment on any of our agenda items. And I'll ask in advance for the public to have some patience with us as we work with a off-site facilitator, our IT director, helping us get you queued up one by one. So Josh, I'll turn to you now and ask that you provide our first person requesting to speak.
Okay, yes, we have Josh Ficcarelli. I'm going to unmute you now, Josh. You'll have to unmute yourself. You are unmuted, so you are permitted to talk at this time.
About now. Can you hear me now?
Hear you. Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh man, I get to kick this off. Well, thank you. I hope this finds everybody doing well. Dr. Kreider, I heard your brief synopsis of the elementary health and phys ed. Just some of the questions or concerns I had emailed the board and administration earlier today. Are you guys aware how specials are structured at the elementary presently? Anyone?
Josh, yes, I believe the administration's familiar with the structure.
I mean, again, I don't ask that flippantly. I just say that, presently we have a 6-day rotation for specials. A 6-day rotation requires 6 teachers to do that. Presently, you have 2 phys ed, 2 music, 1 library, and then 1 art. An elimination of 1 elementary health and physical education teacher precludes you from having a 6-day rotation. So I don't know how you remedy that. If you go back to a 5-day rotation or a Monday through Friday, if you will, traditional format, there are 41 classes that need to be seen when you count the adapted population. That requires each special on a daily basis to have 8.2 classes in their day. By requiring everybody to have that amount, not only do you take away time for health and physical education, you are now also, domino effect, taking away time for chorus and band lessons. Do you guys understand the ramifications with all of that? In addition, if you go to a 5-day or a traditional Monday through Friday setting, you'll have 3 of your 4 specials traveling. You need to accommodate travel time and everything, again, keeping you at 8.2 classes a day to accommodate, 41 classes. In addition, you talked about the social and emotional learning in the classroom, but you talked about eliminating a guidance counselor. How are you going to, I guess I'm confused how that's going to look if you're taking away people to teach the social and emotional wellness and health, which is part of the current health curriculum. If we're taking people away from that, who's going to do it?
And so, Josh, if I can interject at this time, we look to maintain that 6-day rotation at the elementary level. We look to still continue to provide all the instruction that we previously had with art and with library and with music and with physical education. And now we look to add in that next component of the school counselor. So the school counselor and the physical education teacher would actually mirror one another in regard to their schedules. They would be able to, throughout the course of a 6-day rotation, be able to move through each of the buildings, again, on an every other day basis. And throughout that 6-day rotation, still have access to all of our students in both elementary schools. So the school counselor then would be taking that role then of balancing out the health and physical wellness side of things from the health and phys ed component, and then interjecting another component on the opposite days there of that social emotional learning aspect that would help balance out that instruction. So we get that healthy lifestyle in regard to physical fitness, and then we also get that mental side as well that we're providing now to our students on a daily basis. And again, the other component that comes in to assist is then with our school psychologists who are able to work in those buildings then exclusively without having any other responsibilities across the district. They would then be placed in those 2 buildings as well.
Okay, so from a strictly structured physical activity time, you're now telling over half of your student population that they are going to have one 30-minute structured physical activity every 8 calendar days. A 6-day rotation means a student would only see me once. So in that 6 days, there's 8 calendar days minimum when you count in the weekends. So you're saying that we're going to have one 30-minute structured physical activity time at best every 8 calendar days. And I mean, again, that seems not in the best interest of the students. I mean, we're all trapped inside right now. We're all in quarantine. How many of you have told your own kids or yourselves that you needed to get out? You needed to go be active. You're going stir crazy. And now for the entire lot of the elementary population, they're going to have one 30-minute structured time every minimum 8 calendar days. Beyond that, assemblies, an absence by a student, bad weather, book fairs, all these other things take away opportunities for students. That could be every 16 or more calendar days before they receive any structured physical activity. I don't know. I mean, we're okay with that?
So you're right in regard to as far as that balance with the 6-day rotation, that if you would count in the weekends with that, you're looking at every 6 school days that they would have access to their phys ed instruction. But one of the things that we take a look at is that we try to embed those healthy lifestyle choices that, as you had mentioned during the present time, is that I think there are many families and many households, probably more now than ever, who are going out and taking family walks, who are taking some of those initiatives on their own to embed some healthy lifestyle practices. And I do believe that it is a result of the curriculum that we teach in our schools. We do help students recognize, and we help families recognize, that physical activity is very healthy and we should embed it into all aspects of our life. And it's not just that, it's not just the physical fitness, it's also the healthy, balanced meals that we eat, that we take that into consideration as well to provide us with energy and nourishment, making sure that our brains are functioning. So I would say that the value of that health and physical education component is extremely important. And I think we continue to embed those lifelong learning skills into our students so that they carry that beyond not just the setting throughout a normal course of a school day, but then also throughout the rest of their life.
I think I take that as a compliment. I think I appreciate that. And again, I don't mean to sound flippant, but you know, one every 8 calendar days, 30 minutes of structured time, you know, when we come back to air quote normal, you know, I appreciate that families now are taking a greater interest in physical activity and going outside, et cetera, et cetera. But when we go back to normal, people are going to return to work, and you know, a lot of this elementary student population is going to be left to their own devices. And I feel like taking away the time that they need in the course of a day. I mean, if you've had the luxury of being in an elementary classroom and seeing that you're asking students to sit still for the better part of 6 hours at a time, I think to a man, they would all prefer to be up and physically active. Now, from a structured standpoint, you're asking to do that once every week, week and a half. In addition, you're expecting school, if I understand you, and I could be wrong, I apologize. You're expecting the school psychologist to essentially handle the health that's in the curriculum as part of the health and physical education curriculum on the books. So now a school psychologist is going to handle, they're going to handle the systems of the body, they're going to handle drugs and alcohol awareness, they're going to handle basic first aid and CPR, or is that still in the health and phys ed realm? And if it is, then the days that you teach health, then that's another 8-day or more cycle where a student has no physical activity. I guess I'm still foggy on how this is supposed to look.
Josh, this is Jim. Perhaps you and Dr. Kreider can get together offline and work with Marcia there and figure out,
Well, I don't mean to monopolize it, Mr. Shriver. I just want everybody who's listening to kind of see some of the red flags. I'm not trying to throw a pitchfork into the ground. I'm just really trying to figure it out. Obviously, I have a biased opinion, and obviously I have a pretty big stake in this, but the community as a whole should understand some of the things too. And if I go offline, then I'm just talking behind the scenes. But I'll let everybody go because I know other people have their hands raised.
No, but very, very quickly, Josh, it certainly was a compliment towards you and the physical education staff for the education we provide to our students. Certainly, we do have strategies embedded into the regular classroom as far as our teachers working with kinesthetic activities and embedding movement into the course of their regular school day. Students also have access to recess as well. Certainly, that's not nearly the same structured environment as what we provide through trained professionals in that area. And certainly, we are not going to have the school psychologists deliver our health curriculum. That's not in their area of expertise, but we will have to take a look at scope and sequence. We will have to take a look at the curriculum that we cover. And I know that Mr. Mantich will be also involved in that process as well as we move forward. So thank you, Josh. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
so Josh Jones, do we have a second speaker interested in sharing some thoughts?
Yes. Next one will be Anthony Istick. Talking has been permitted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi guys, how are you? Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak tonight. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Anthony Istick, and for the last 8 years, I've had the privilege of being a math teacher at the senior high school. And if the proposed cuts do go through, my math position will be among them. I'm asking tonight that you reconsider. Most districts, not just in PA, but across the U.S., have made STEAM education a major priority. Different districts obviously do this in different ways, and I've found that many of our surrounding districts devote much more time than Carlynton does to math instructions. Some districts dedicate 2 periods or hour-long blocks of math every day. Others offer weekly double periods. These are the same students, that get compared to our students on math PSSAs. Our students would greatly benefit from a similar opportunity. Additionally, when you look at our district scores on ELA PSSAs and English Keystone exam, our scores are far superior there than to those in math. Why? They're given double the amount of time in ELA instruction in both 7th and 8th grades, while with both English and reading courses being offered. I believe math should warrant the same consideration. As it stands today, we have the staff to allow for more math instruction in the junior high grades, but if you eliminate my position tonight, this opportunity also goes away. The extra instruction time would allow for more integration of technology, more hands-on activities, and most importantly, more real-world application and experiences. Everything that can and should be a priority for our students to give them the tools to be successful both in the class and in life. If that doesn't seem like an option in the immediate future, why not consider adding a section in 7th grade, adding a section in 8th grade, even 9th grade? Carlynton has always taken pride in the student to teacher ratio. It's one of the many things that I found impressive and exciting about Carlynton years ago. Having smaller classes allows for students to get much more support, much more reinforcement, and enrichment as needed. Maybe consider adding more co-taught classes with 2 math teachers. I've done it twice before with Mrs. Malabavich. We had mutual beneficial experience, and our test scores those years were proof of a successful partnership. Students in our co-taught classes will suffer, and overall class sizes will increase with the elimination of 2 core subject teachers. Create more math electives, maybe. Financial literacy, problem-solving electives, even at the junior high level. Let's take this opportunity to be creative and innovative. Let's maximize the skills of our math department, and specifically my position, to its full potential. I want you all to know that I understand these cuts aren't personal. While it appears I may still have a job after all is said and done, my passion is with math, and it's where I've been recognized now twice as a distinguished teacher. These changes would disrupt our extremely effective 7th grade transition team. One of the hardest transitions I believe in life is going from an elementary school to a middle school. Many would agree that this transition has been seamless for our 7th graders. I won't be able to continue to run the PBIS program for the junior high, which I currently do. The PBIS program has quickly grown to provide must-attend events for 7th and 8th grade students, in addition to noticeable improvements in student behavior and in the hallways, in the cafeteria, and in the classrooms. The students that I mentor as part of the student assistance or SAP program will suffer. Many of them truly depend on me, check in with me daily, if not more, and look to me as someone that they can trust, someone that they rely upon. I would hate to not be available to them because I'm not in the high school but a few times per week. In summary, I hope that you consider that our district needs more math, not less. Everyone in Carlynton family speaks so highly about how we always strive to do what's best for our kids. I can't fathom that cutting a math position is what's best for our kids. I felt compelled to speak to you all tonight. Carlynton, and more specific, my 7th grade teaching math position means too much to me. I believe that me being here for my students at Carlynton, my students of all levels, means a lot to them too. Thank you guys so much for hearing me out. Thank you for your consideration. I hope you guys are safe and well. That's all I got.
And Anthony, thank you for that contribution. It was, at least for me, there were parts that were a little challenging to hear. I'm not sure if you have what you prepared there, if you have it in writing, but if you could, it may be a good suggestion you could either email it to me and I will share with the rest of the board. Because as I mentioned, I couldn't hear everything that you shared, but certainly appreciate your contribution here this evening. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you guys all. I will make sure to send it up to all of you as soon as I can. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Anthony.
Our next person is going to be Shannon Vitale. Yes, you are able to talk. So go ahead.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If for some reason you can't as I'm talking, please stop so we can try to adjust it. So I did send this letter to all the board members and Dr. Kreider yesterday. However, I did only receive one response, so I'm not 100% sure that everyone read it, and I thought that what I wrote was important enough to speak tonight. I also have just one comment to add at the end of it, so it is something a little bit new. So I'm an elementary special education teacher for the district. I work at Crafton. I've been there since August of 2008. During that time, I have watched the needs of our students change tremendously. On a daily basis, students in our district have to try to manage and work through deficits in social skills, underdeveloped coping skills, anxiety, depression, homelessness, divorce, trauma, loss, and a multitude of other issues. The list is unending. At the elementary level, the guidance counselor is at the forefront of helping our students. I know that you are all in receipt of an email from Mrs. Badger, which outlined the roles and responsibilities of guidance counselors at the elementary level. However, I would like to take a moment to go into slightly more detail just from the mental health perspective. So this is not to say that this is all that the guidance counselors do. At Crafton Elementary, Mr. Hope provides both group and individual counseling services to a multitude of students, both with and without identified disabilities. He is formally written into the IEPs of applicable students to ensure that they regularly receive these services. Students meet in groups during lunch or recess to build social skills, learn coping skills, manage anxiety, learn to accept others, and discuss other troubles that they may be having. They meet individually to discuss anything impacting that particular student, family issues, peer conflicts, personal matters. Several students have extensive behavior plans requiring substantial daily effort from multiple staff members, including Mr. Hope. On a school-wide level, Mr. Hope pushes into all 17 homerooms on a weekly basis to provide engaging lessons on character education and career readiness. He discusses character traits like respect, honesty, trustworthiness, and loyalty, making sure that all of our students understand what each of these traits look like and how they can apply these traits to real-life situations. Mr. Hope leads the Crafton Student Assistance or ESAP team to help identify students in need of services outside of what is given to our general population. He regularly speaks with individuals both inside and outside of the district to help students and families obtain necessary services. Additionally, Mr. Hope is a vital member of the Crafton PBIS team, which guides staff and students in establishing a climate in which appropriate behavior is the norm. Without a full-time guidance counselor at each elementary building, continuing to implement all of these things would not be possible. If having a full-time guidance counselor at each elementary building wasn't important enough before the immediate school closures due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it is my professional opinion that having full-time access to a counselor will be even more important once we return to school. As adults and even as educators, we hope that our Carlynton students are safe at home during this time. We hope that they are receiving basic necessities, that they are being provided with stability and consistency, and that the adults in their lives are serving as positive role models. I have been a foster parent for over 2 years now, though, and I can assure you that this is not the case for all of our students. The trauma that comes from not having our basic needs met is tremendous and long-lasting, and even if a child did not need guidance services prior to these unprecedented times, my professional opinion is that we are going to see many more who will need assistance upon returning from this long period of school closure. I understand that the district needs to make some changes, but I respectfully feel that eliminating an elementary guidance position is not the answer. It has been stated that this position is being eliminated due to a decrease in pupil enrollment. However, the needs of our current student population are most definitely increasing. By eliminating an elementary guidance position, the district is taking away support from our neediest students, and that should not be okay with anyone. It will be unrealistic to expect these students to achieve academically if we cannot provide them with the daily support that they need to battle through multiple other underlying issues. The tremendous need in our district cannot be met if an elementary guidance counselor position is eliminated, and I am confident that our students' needs will only continue to increase each year. My other comment in relation to all of that and what has been discussed tonight is that it was noted that the school psychologists would be taking on a greater role in helping to facilitate guidance type activities. From a special education standpoint, I'm not really sure how that would ever work, given the tremendous amount of work that they are required to do on an everyday basis. They are required to do the testing and write all of the evaluation reports for every student in our district. At this point, because of the school closure, any students who had referrals for testing has been put completely on hold because obviously we are not at a place where we can do the testing. So therefore, when we return to school, whenever that may be, the psychologist will be responsible for completing any testing and any evaluations that had been started but were not able to be completed because of the closures. With that in mind, then, I am wondering how in the world they would ever be able to help take on the role of doing all of the things that Mr. Hope does at Crafton, let alone what I'm sure Ms. Lee does at Carnegie. Thank you.
And again, we appreciate your comments as well. And you brought up very many topics there. Just to reiterate some of those in regard to group and individualized meetings, that there will still be time built into the counselor schedule over the course of those 6 days in order to provide time to work with students in that type of setting. And then also looking for that relationship during those classroom instructional time to provide more of those lessons to a broader group of students as opposed to the smaller groups that we presently work in, so that our school counselor will be able to have those social and emotional lessons with all of our students, and providing all of our students then with those valuable skills that you had recognized. We also recognize that during this closure that our students may have some types of setbacks and gaps to fill when we return. Whether we return this school year or not, we don't know that at this point. However, when we do come back, there will be a lot of gaps that we will need to fill. And those gaps are not just limited to the emotional needs of our students, but also the academic needs. We will need to put plans together to fill the gaps that our current third grade students are not getting that face-to-face interaction with our teachers when they progress onto fourth grade. The types of things that we do to compact some of our instruction to take a look at how we prepare to deliver that information to our students certainly will be a challenge. So you bring up some great points. I do appreciate those, and we do have many challenges that will lie ahead of us.
Thank you again. Josh, do we have our fourth attendee that wishes to comment?
Yes, this is going to be Cassandra Gibbs. Just a reminder to let me allow to talk here. Just a reminder to community members to state your address before talking. Okay, and Cassandra, it looks like I'm not able to allow you to talk at this moment because you're running an older version of Zoom. If you would be able to update that version, I could then allow you to speak. But at this time, Zoom is not allowing me to do such. I will move on to Rachel Ferrari until we can get Cassandra figured out. Cassandra, you're currently unmuted. There you go. You can talk.
Okay. First off, good evening. My name is Rachel Ferrari Engel. I live at 10 Walnut Street in Crafton. I first want to thank the board members for their service and time. I'm commenting primarily on the potential elimination of the positions at the elementary level with the guidance counselor and the phys ed position. I'm speaking as a parent and as an educator from another district. First, just as an educator, I've had the experience of being in the position of being split between two buildings and having over 700 students per week. Quite frankly, it was overwhelming. It was challenging on the best of days to maintain two separate spaces, assisting each building with their unique needs and expectations that each building had. It was difficult at times to remember students' names. I remember one teacher was kind enough to put name tags every week on the kids, and I appreciated it, but frankly, I was embarrassed. It wasn't what I had signed up for as an educator. Additionally, I was stressed out. It was my second year of teaching at that point, and I almost quit. And as fast as I could, I applied for a different position and ultimately I was able to get a different position the following year. So I do worry that doing this to teachers is going to potentially cause turnover. The reality and the expectation of what was being asked for was very challenging, very difficult. Felt like I never had enough time. Additionally, I didn't feel as if I was doing a good job, which I think was the worst feeling, just because I always felt like I was behind. So I think on a logistical level, I think it's going to be very difficult for that teacher. And then there's the scheduling and some of the issues that Mr. Fick was talking about that also resonate. As a parent of a student who goes to Crafton Elementary, I find it concerning that the teacher might not know my child's name. As a parent, I'm concerned that we might burn out the teachers and keep qualified individuals. I'm concerned that we're talking about removing phys ed from the elementary population. There are lots of studies showing that kids need more phys ed, not less. I'm baffled that we're looking at removing this, and I'm not okay with losing the amount of structured phys ed time. I already don't like that the art teacher split. So having the phys ed teacher and having a counselor split is just, I think, really going to complicate things. There's going to be a trickle-down effect, as Mr. Fick was referencing, in that it's going to affect other specials as well. It's going to affect, my kids are in band and choir, so I worry how that's going to affect the amount of time that they're going to have for those activities, which I'm very strongly supportive of. I'm concerned at a time when mental health is becoming more and more problematic for our youth that we are considering eliminating this position. Additionally, soft skills are just as important as academic skills. I teach in another district for high school, and a lot of my students really lack soft skills. And the best place to learn many of these soft skills is elementary, because I feel by the time they get to high school, if they don't get those skills, it's really hard at the high school level. So we might not see an initial impact immediately, but maybe 5-6 years down the road when those kids get to high school or the junior high and they lack some of those soft skills, it's going to make things more difficult for them and the school. One of my children has benefited greatly from small group instruction with Mr. Hope. He's had therapy in small group. We've almost eliminated the need pretty much eliminated his need for special education. He has a 504 plan, but he has not had to move to a specially designed instruction because most of the problems he had falls in that kind of soft skills category that he's been able to be supported by. I think it's going to be challenging, if not impossible, to meet the load and demand of what will be asked of those individuals who are left after the elimination. And I think the toll on the kids and the educators will be immense. I definitely urge you to find another way in the budget versus eliminating positions. I know it's difficult. I think the elimination, and frankly, the elimination of any of the positions, including the high school positions, any position that directly interacts with our children is not in the best interest of our kids. So I know these are tough decisions. And I know there's a lot of other factors, but these are just, like I said, these are just kind of where I'm coming from. And I just want to say and I appreciate your time and thank you for letting me speak.
Rachel, thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Josh, if you want to move to the next speaker.
Yep, it's going to be Aaron Lenk. You are now permitted to speak. You can unmute yourself at any time. You're on, go ahead.
Hi, everyone, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm here with my wife, Laura, as well. We are parents of, we live on Dick Street here in Carnegie. We are parents of a student in Carnegie Elementary School. We're going to have another one beginning this year. Also, just wanted to express some of our concerns with, with the decisions that are being made. So, in particularly in regards to the elementary school, but also, all the positions really. So first off, we wanted to express our concern about the phys ed teacher. We want there to be as many opportunities as possible, and for physical activity. While I understand that, yes, they should be getting some at home if at all possible, and we obviously encourage that. Those 2 days on the weekend plus one during the week, I certainly don't feel that that's enough. Their recess is very limited. Oftentimes, there's no physical activity, in recess as well because of weather or, other circumstances. But, it's very important for our kids to get that physical activity. Our son is a member of the running club, so he enjoys that. He enjoys intramurals. And those are all during school hours. So we want to make sure that those continue. And we know how important the phys ed teacher is to those opportunities. So I do think, the emotional and social skills are obviously important as well. And I think that's great that we're going to be focusing on those. But at the same time, that physical activity is definitely, very important. Just to our son's overall well-being. He's a different kid when he comes home after, having that physical activity. We see it make a difference. We definitely want to express our concern about that. I know Shannon also mentioned this as well in terms of eliminating the school counselor. We definitely feel it would be detrimental, in terms of, everything that's happening. I'll let my wife say a little bit about this as well.
We were just concerned, just a side note, I saw my grandfather live through the Great Depression, I saw what that did to him, that period of time where he would hoard things and wear pajamas till they were tattered. It was a time that shaped him as a young man, and he carried that through his life. What we are concerned about is there's a very good chance that these kids are going to lose classmates. They can lose parents. There could be staff affected. They could lose the custodians. They could lose teachers. This is going to be, we haven't hit the worst of it yet, but this is something unprecedented that we haven't seen as adults and the young kids have not seen. We feel that taking that position and just having the guidance counselor be there 2.5 days a week or, whatever is being proposed that there's not going to be access for that. I know currently the guidance counselor at our school, she secures underwear for the school nurse. She gets school supplies for kids that don't have them. There is time to focus on that. There's a relationship there that, you know, maybe the school psychologist is, like as Shannon said, is so overwhelmed that they don't get all the time to do that. These kids are going to need every resource. We don't know the effects of what this is going to cause for them. But I think to take that away and also, you know, eliminate the physical activity, which also helps reduce stress and, you know, the concern and everything there would be terrible. And we also were wondering, with the pandemic, the public schools will be getting part of the stimulus. And we feel, is this premature to shuffle people around with the budget when we may not even know what the schools are going to get yet?
And on that same topic, I know we don't understand what the current budget is and how it's being affected with switching to e-learning. You know, if it's taking more of a toll on it, or if it's balancing out, or even if it's beneficial to it. But yeah, we're just curious about how that will impact it. From our understanding, it seems like the kindergarten classes are increasing in size. When our son started, they had 2 kindergarten teachers, and they had to bring on a 3rd just to make sure that there were enough to teach and keep the class sizes the way they wanted. And since then, it seems to have increased every year.
I think that at one point there were 24 or 25 kids in each class. I've spoken directly with the kindergarten teachers because I'm at the school quite frequently. And, you know, they said, quite honestly, we would probably need a 4th and don't have space for it. So we are seeing in our own neighborhood properties that were rentals where people are moving in, they're young couples, they have young children. So we're concerned about cuts or redistributing now. How is it going to look in a couple years when these other children are school aged?
Correct. And our daughter is going to be starting this year, like I said, and we just want to make sure, you know, looking ahead, I know there were cuts last year. I mean, eventually you're not going to be able to shuffle people around. There are people that are hired for specific skills, and they can focus on, you know, on the students and make sure they can really play to their strengths and develop the skills that they need to. But if we start to have, you know, that crossover where teachers are teaching things that aren't their specialty, what does that do for our kids? How does that benefit them in the long run? So, I mean, those are really our main concerns. We just wanted to make sure that we put them out there. I understand that this isn't easy for anyone, but we're also just asking if there's alternate ways to work the budget to keep these positions, even some of them, especially the counselor, the physical education. Those are so important to what our students do and to what we want for our children.
Especially when their emotional maturity is still in flux, it's still growing, they're still developing those parts of their brain. You know, these are the formative years for that. So to take that away or, you know, not support that, as Shannon said, you know, a lot of these kids, they're home with single parents, they're home with a lot of strife, people arguing, not enough resources, maybe not enough food. They get the meals at school, but what about the rest of the day? Those are all factoring in. You know, they missed their classmates, they were ripped away. Online learning, it's great, and they're still learning, but it's still on a computer. They're not getting, you know, what they need during this time. So they're going to take all of that, compress it. They don't have access to their normal counselors and people. They may not. I mean, they might outside of school. I'm not sure what provisions that or what the district has made, but you know, they're just not getting it on the same level right now at this time. So we're concerned about, you know, how that's going to look if we send them back, and it's just that position has been greatly reduced. Yes.
We appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. Appreciate your perspective, your personal perspective. I will quickly share that all of the board members either have had their children go through the district or currently have children in the district. And all of us are collectively looking to deliver the sort of positive outcome that you all described. So we all have a vested interest in making sure the environment is a positive one and a great one for all students. So we have the same goals as you do. And as far as sort of longer term plans and strategies, I would invite both of you and all of your colleagues in the community to come and join us. We have monthly meetings where we outline our strategies over a long term. And as a handful of your colleagues will know, we've had these discussions over the last couple of years, and we've made some difficult decisions in the past, always with the goal of trying to maintain the overall outcome. And I think this board and previous boards have done a good job of constantly evolving the district and the structure of the district to meet the needs, but also meet the financial needs and the state requirements. So I hope to see a lot of you at our future meetings in the next couple of months. Josh, if you want to go to our next speaker.
Yes, next will be Lisa Raleigh. Talking is now permitted, Lisa, so if you would unmute yourself, you'd be good to talk.
Thank you, Josh.
Yes.
Good evening, and thank you so much for allowing me to speak this evening. I am the junior senior high school health and physical education curriculum coordinator. I live at 192 Becks Run Road in Moon Township. I would also like to speak to the resolution to furlough the PE teachers. You know, last year Americans spent $72 billion on weight loss and diet control. We all know the names. We see them on every commercial: Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, Atkins, and the now famous keto diet. And we all know what obesity and overweight does to not only our healthcare costs, but our overall health and wellness. Obesity causes things like increased heart disease, increased stroke risk, diabetes, and cancer, just to name a few. Federal and state laws have mandated that all school districts develop and adopt wellness policies. Carlynton's wellness policy, which was adopted in February of last year, has three major focuses that I believe are the most important. The first is that we will deliver a comprehensive nutrition education curriculum to our students K through 12. Secondly, we will deliver a comprehensive physical education curriculum to promote lifelong health-enhancing physical activity. And the third one that I think is most important is that all three buildings are supposed to be making an effort to provide students the opportunity to be physically active for 60 minutes each day. In my certified professional opinion, there is no other place in the district to meet these most important student needs than in the health and physical education department. No classroom teacher or recess monitor has the capacity or expertise to deliver these standards to our students. This proposal is to have a 50% cut in programming to our elementary students just in physical education alone. I would argue we need to increase health and physical education program district-wide to address the district's current overweight and obesity rates, which are 30% at Crafton, 34% at the junior senior high school, and 36% at Carnegie Elementary, which is about 4% higher than the state average. Additionally, the state added additional mandates over the past 2 years to address the opioid crisis, CPR training, and youth suicide awareness and prevention. And as Mr. Mantich can attest, all of these were added to the health and physical education curriculum to be certain that those mandates are being met. Please do not do a major disservice to our students. This is the most critical time for all of our students to develop and practice lifelong healthy habits that will keep them safe, not only today, but throughout their lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll try Cassandra Gibbs again. I have unmuted you and it looks like it's going to work. So go ahead and unmute yourself and then just state your address for the board. And Cassandra, if you can hear me, there you go.
Now?
Yep.
Okay, good. My name is Cassandra Gibbs. I have a student in Carnegie Elementary and 2 students up at the junior, senior high school, 1 middle school, 1 high school. I have 2, both topics I would like to just briefly touch on. The first, as far as the counselor goes in the elementary setting, I believe I grasp what the ending plan is here, like the goal. Like I get it, I get where you're trying to go with it. It's how it's going about getting there though in the environment we're in right now. I had the opportunity with my technical issues to overhear some of the other speakers touch on it, which I agree, and I second everything they all are saying. My concern would be having a son in the elementary setting who is deemed special needs. He has an IEP. He gets his services at school because I was told that would be best for him to just have all of his outside services condensed into the school. And one of those services is social therapy. So where my concern would be is by implementing social and emotional learning, which I do feel as though that is very important right now. And I feel as though the importance of it is too great to lower your resources to be able to implement that. And with these students who have a greater need medically for social therapy that have been receiving these services, being pulled out of class for these services, how will that contrast what they're doing in a social and emotional learning environment on a broader scale? I did learn out of experience before with my son intertwined with 2 people trying to teach the same thing, that it kind of made a shift that caused more of a problem than good because they weren't on the same page. With that though, the setbacks, when you say it's going to be combined with physical education, okay, that's kind of health and wellness, physical education. That's how it gets on a higher levels. But at this level, they don't know their emotions that well. They're learning them. So is this going to be something that's graded? Or are you going to put a grade to, hey, that's not how you're supposed to feel, or that's not how we exhibit how we feel, or how you're feeling is wrong because this book said so? Or is it more of a, hey, let's talk. Let's learn these new emotions you're feeling and how we get through that. And if it, again, I have to agree with the other speakers on who are we overloading to do this, because as of where things stand now, being involved on such a scale for years, those that are there are overwhelmed with so much to where you're put on the back burner for a lot of your situations. And unfortunately, I've had the experience where some of the situations were downplayed a little bit because the resources, the people weren't there to handle it on the level that it needed to be handled on. Even though remotely they did a great job, but the overwhelming on what individual is kind of unfair to them and the children. And doing this now, when these kids that I didn't realize until my son was talking to a social therapist via online therapy, she asked him, what do you do when you miss your friends? And he stated, I forget that I have friends so that I won't miss them. So if we're thinking like second graders here, you're getting damaged kids back. They don't know this feeling. They've never experienced this, and they don't have a professional guiding them through it, and we're doing the best we can. So whenever they go back to school, now all these people are gone. Right now, everybody left them and nobody said bye. So whenever they go back, there's going to be more people gone, and you're going to have more work to do. And you just have to get it together. I think that I get your goal, but I think that it's going to take a longer thought process, and I just hope that I know there'll be kinks and hiccups along the way. The goal seems understandable. I just think and hope that you take it slow and really consider the the effects of elementary students in their mind and not our mind trying to understand. Like, we really have to think on their level with this and how, what they will respond to and how they're feeling in the state that they're going to be in when they go back to school. Not what we want them or what we think they're going through. I think at something like this, we need to listen to our kids more than we listen to the parents. We really need to focus on them, and it's something that we just, take it one day at a time. Let's see what they're going to need, and let's go off of that, because if mental health is important, then you gotta feel as though it's important all across the board. Not, you know what I mean? Not just, hey, it's important enough for us to have these classes, but not important enough for us to really consider what we're dealing with here, because in the elementary level, we're setting the mold. And if we mess up that mold, it's going to make it harder whenever they move on to redo them, basically. That was my first. And if you would like me to just go with my second, and then whatever you may need to say off of that, I'm open. But I also want to say I appreciate you guys. As a parent, I appreciate all the hard work, the tough decisions you have to make. I get it. You guys are doing a fabulous job with what you got, and you're not going to be able to please us all, but I think that these are very important, that a judgment shouldn't be rushed right now. So as far as the high school level, my concern was with, the possibility of removing Mr. Istick. I understand the reasonings to the best of a parent's ability on this end, not the inside. If I have to speak, not necessarily on his behalf, but that is something that hearing this meeting kind of on a personal note really rocked me a little bit. 7th grade, like he said, like others said, is a very hard transitional year. I've put 3 kids through 7th grade at your school, and it's very important that they have a relation, not just a teacher, a relation. What happens there, it's the setup for the remainder of their career there. And as far as him specifically goes, there are great teachers, and there's a lot at the school. There's only one Mr. Istick. He does.
Cassandra, I completely agree. Great, very good comments, and Mr. Istick is fantastic. If I could quickly add to your comments, I appreciate your understanding of the sensitivity of all of these topics. We are challenged to make some difficult decisions sometimes, and I do think what you said about the kids.
But I wanted to let you know that my concern with Mr. Istick wasn't even mainly on a math platform per se, but down to the PBIS program that the administrators themselves highly recommended me to put my children in that program, and specifically put them with Mr. Istick himself. So my concern would be, if that was the case and he was shifted around, how would that affect the PBIS program, and how would that affect their involvement with him in that program? Or will the program be done? Okay, now I'm done.
Gotcha. Thank you. No, I think that's a great point. And Dr. Kreider, with that backdrop, we can make sure that the benefit of that program continues. That's a good point, Cassandra. And on the larger topic, I agree as well that we're all going to have to adjust when we get back to some kind of normal, that we're all going to need things that we didn't anticipate needing, or maybe we didn't need before. So we're all going to have to adjust and kind of listen to the kids and see what their various needs might be when we get back together again physically. And that'll be something that'll be on all of the teachers' minds, the administration's mind. And again, we as a district will look to provide those needs the best we can, but we want our kids to survive and to thrive. So thank you again for your comments.
Okay, it looks like one more. Tom De Petro, you have been unmuted, so you just have to unmute yourself and you'd be able to talk.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say good evening to the school board, and also congratulations to Dr. Crowder on becoming a Cougar member. I'm 143 Huron Drive, Carnegie, PA, a former school board member and retired school teacher for 35 years. Josh and Rachel have kind of answered my question, so I just want to highlight one or two more things there. Then I have one other question. When you cut a teacher, as Josh said, you're going one of two things are going to happen. You're going to have larger class sizes, or you're going to cut the time that you're going to spend with the kids. And Josh seemed to do the one on meet every 8 days, every 8th day for a phys ed class. So obviously the class time will be cut down and our kids will suffer there. With the phys ed of a 30-minute class that Dr. Kreider shared, if you have equipment to pass out and equipment to collect, you're no longer going to have a 30-minute health class. That health class may be cut down to 20 to 25 minutes. So we're cutting more health time, or phys ed time, excuse me, for the children. And they're the ones that are going to suffer. With the health curriculum of teaching, and what Rachel also said, meeting your kids. So he's going to have to meet over 700 youngsters to get the health curriculum in. That's an awful large task to get a curriculum in the correct way, in my opinion. And again, if those classes are only 30 minutes, that's, again, maybe down to 20 or 25 minutes of the actual teaching time. If the classes are longer than 30 minutes, you're probably going to meet the kids even less. It's going to take you more time per class. The other question I have for the board is, rather than cutting a teacher, did they ever discuss sharing an administrator between the two schools versus losing teaching positions? Thank you for your time.
Tom, thanks for your comment. And you mentioned you're a former school board director. Thank you for your service in the past. You and your colleagues did great justice to Carlynton in the past. So thank you for your help in previous years. John, Dr. Kreider, do you want to comment anything?
Simply in regard to sharing of the administrative staff between buildings, no, we did not take that into consideration as far as a possible option to move forward. You also mentioned, and I appreciate the welcoming to being a Cougar. I was able to get a few days into the Cougar area here, and then this all hit. So, but I appreciate that. The one piece that you had mentioned in regard to teaching time, you'd mentioned the 30-minute period of time that our physical education teachers get at the elementary level. And for physical education, that is a challenge to get out equipment, to disperse it to students, to get attendance taken. There's a lot of different things that need to take place within that short period of time. In this particular case, as far as the phys ed class itself, the time still stays the same in that period. So it's what they presently deliver our health and physical education class in is a 30-minute block of time. That 30-minute block of time will continue. However, your assumption there is correct. Something has to give. You're either going to increase class sizes or you're going to reduce the amount of time. The overall amount of time does reduce. Instead of meeting 2 times out of that 6 weeks or 6-day schedule, they do only meet 1 time during that 6-day cycle. And as we mentioned before, that other day gets supplemented then by our school counselor going into classrooms and providing that social and emotional learning tools, which also lend themselves very much to that healthy lifestyle, I think that others have talked about as well. So your points are very well taken and accurate in that degree, where we are losing the instructional time. However, we are supplementing it with other valuable instruction that also has that research behind it that does have an impact not only on students' social and emotional well-being, but then also academic performance. So, but thank you.
See you later. Thank you.
Josh, do you have any other speakers, or are we going to move on?
Yes, we have 2 more now. This next one will be Mary Campbell. You are unmuted and allowed to speak at this time, so you just have to unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good evening. I sent a letter to the board and to Dr. Kreider, so I know that you're aware of my concerns. I am a teacher at Carnegie Elementary, and I am a resident of Carnegie. I've been at Carnegie Elementary for 11 years, and the needs of our students continue to grow. And the needs are emotional, physical, hunger. They're coming from traumatic areas of the world. They're coming into our classrooms without knowing English. They're coming to us in the traditional dress of their home countries, looking at people who look nothing and sound nothing like them. They are dealing with abandonment and poverty and hunger. They have anger issues. Without those needs being met, we have such a small chance of reaching their academic needs. The current elementary guidance counselor at Carnegie does not have the opportunity to come into our classrooms anymore. Earlier in my career, she did. And she was able to come in and teach social emotional skills, but because of her current workload, which I did outline what I had witnessed, a partial list of that workload in the letter that I sent to you all, she can't do that. So I am extremely concerned about who will take over all of the things that she's doing now if she's taken out of that role and put into the 6-day rotation as a unified arts teacher. I understand that she'll be teaching those social emotional skills in a proactive approach, and I understand that she will still have time built into her schedule, according to what one of you said earlier, for those small group sessions and individual sessions. But her responsibilities are so far above and beyond the job description of a guidance counselor. I've watched her, escort students to the bathroom because they need to be changed. I've watched her escort students to kindergarten every morning because they're crying. I've watched her guide new families from Africa around the building and try to make a connection with them and let them know what's happening and let them know that those kids will be safe with us. I would be more than happy to discuss those needs and ways to meet those needs with any of you, but losing a guidance counselor and not having something in place to take over those job responsibilities, it would be devastating. It would be devastating to so many of my students. And I just hope that we're all aware of what this will do. Thank you.
Mary, thank you very much. Thank you for your email, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Josh, do we have any other speakers?
Yes, that's going to be Mark Popovich. Just a reminder, please state your street address. You are able to talk now.
Hi, it's Mark Popovich, 124 Huron Drive, Carnegie, PA. I have an overarching comment, I guess, relative to the reductions in staff. It has to do with just the general trend that I'm seeing. If I look at the preliminary budget over the last 5 years, there's been almost every year annual millage increases, a declining in the fund balance, and also a decline in the services we're offering. And I just don't see how we're going to counteract enrollment if we keep diminishing services. Because what we're doing is we're making our school district less appealing to young families and to others that may choose to go charter school instead of attending Carlynton. So whatever's been happening over the last 5 years, clearly it's not working. We're not on a sustainable path. So I guess my question is, what is the strategic plan of the board to reverse this course? Because what we're doing now by increasing taxes and diminishing services is just making our school district less appealing, which is counter to enhancing enrollment. So with that, I'll stop.
And Mark, I'll speak first. I know you answered or directed the question towards the board in regard to strategic planning as well, and what their direction is with that. In regard to strategic planning, the one piece that we do have available to us right now is the district is up for their comprehensive plan. And comprehensive plan is required by the state of Pennsylvania to be submitted. Ours is due November of 2020, this school year. It's unfortunate with the timing of the pandemic and the plans that we had in place to get community members such as you and others who have spoke tonight, who bring, I think, very solid multiple perspectives to the forefront and create an opportunity for us to design a very specific and well thought comprehensive plan to address some of those issues that you had mentioned, because I think what you do mention is valid. When you look over the course of several years and you look at some of the pieces, when you look at our fund balance and our budget and declining enrollment and some of those issues, I think we do need to spend a great deal of effort on our branding. What does that brand Carlynton mean to people out there in the community? Make that brand very attractive so that as we work with real estate agents in the area, that they bring their clients to Carlynton and show them some of our great communities of Crafton and Carnegie and Roslyn Farms, because all of the boroughs here, they're outstanding places to live. And I think you're right. We do need to make sure that we are putting a product out there that is competitive. And we also want to make sure that that product is also something that's very marketable and it will attract people. We have seen many areas of growth in the district that I think quite often don't get out there to the public at large in regard to our test scores, in regard to our student performance, in regard to how our students perform in the arts. A lot of different things that I think we could be promoting, and a lot of things that we can capitalize on that have a small price tag to it. They don't need large price tags to move forward on some of those initiatives. We will have to recraft our plans to do our comprehensive plan. We may need to move into an environment where we're doing that virtually. But as the weeks unfold here, we will be sharing information on how community members such as yourself and many others that are here this evening to help design those plans to move forward. So I would very much look forward to meeting with you more on a personal level to help guide that way through. And I'll turn it back over to any of the board members to talk about any insights that they've had over the past 5 years that Mark is discussing there.
Thank you, John. I would quickly add my agreement to all of what you said, and Mark, I think your questions are good. Much of that kind of content is covered at our board meetings, so we'd love to have you come and join us at our monthly board meetings or every couple of meetings, perhaps. The changes you talked about over the last 5 years are some of the changes that all the districts in Pennsylvania are facing, so this is not unique to Carlynton. How we react to it and how we apply our resources and how creative we can be in the solutions to what we're facing, we can do very differently. And I think that's where Dr. Kreider alluded to us looking to the community for continued engagement. So we'd love to see you at a future meeting and we can get more in depth and you bring some of your friends and your neighbors as well. So, but thank you for your question, your comment.
Thank you. My last point is, I just think then in this interim period, having these type of staff reductions sends the wrong message to the community. And if there's a way to, again, preserve our brand by foregoing this until the comprehensive plan is finalized, and maybe there's another way to do it, I think that'll go a long way from keeping us from, continuing on this perceived slide. Thank you for your time.
Well, that was our last for public comment at this time.
All right. Thank you, Josh. Thank you to all the speakers. Thanks for the community for showing up and participating. Again, this is not a seamless tool right now. I think we're all adjusting to life and to things like this. So I appreciate your coming and sharing your thoughts with us in this kind of forum. Unless any board member or any, John, if you have any objections, I'll move on to the rest of the agenda. Moving on, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the February 25th, 2020 voting meeting, the minutes of the special budget and general purposes meeting of March 4th, 2020, and the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting of March 10th, 2020. Do I have a motion for those three items?
This is Leanne, so moved.
This is Kelly, I second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 I didn't
Any-
attend either of those meetings. I'm not going to vote on those.
So Jude is abstaining because he was not. Can you elaborate, Jude, why you're not voting?
Yes, I was not present at those. I had a different engagement I had to be at, so I'll abstain from voting on those.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim, I think we were going to go roll call vote so Michelle could catch who was voting which way.
Hang on.
That works. Michelle, would you want to call it out?
I have everyone. If the person that votes no would be the only person I could hear, I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any no votes? Okay, one abstention. Thank you. Motion passes. Moving on to the report section of our meeting. I'll report that we had an executive session prior to this meeting where we discussed personnel matters and negotiations. I'll also report that we had a training session on Thursday, April 2nd. There was no business discussed at that meeting. It was just a training session for how to use the tool, the Zoom tool. I'll now turn to Dr. Kreider for his superintendent report. Dr. Kreider.
Thank you, Mr. Shriver. I did have the opportunity at the very beginning of the meeting to share what I feel to be the most important information at this time in regard to what was on the meeting agenda for this evening, and then also the current status of how we move through our remote learning plans. Again, just to reiterate, the unity, I think, of this district it's a true strength, and greatly appreciate everybody who contributed to making these past few weeks successful. As a result of the pandemic, I think many of us recognize that there is a strong economic impact. I think that is something at the local level that we are extremely concerned with. It is something that the school district will do everything in their power to work with the local community to help some of our local businesses thrive once we get to the other side of this. I know years ago when the flood hit and came through Carnegie, that was a devastating time for many of our businesses up front. And I think the community united and helped get that business district and that business sector up and running. I think this is certainly going to be very trying times for us coming up. Based on the information that we read in the reports of heading into a recession, how deep that recession will get. I think there are certain impacts that will have on our budgeting moving forward. And that was a question that someone else had asked earlier in the evening as well. We're very concerned about the EIT and the information that comes in through EIT taxes, and then also local real estate taxes. We recognize that at this time, many of our community members are struggling. We have many members of our community who have been either furloughed or have lost their jobs with employment, and for the first time in their life, they're filing for unemployment. And it's not something that's easy for hardworking communities that we have. They're people that have a lot of great pride, and they take great pride in everything that they do. And to move into an unemployment area is something that's challenging. So we are definitely going to try to work with other local leaders to try to make sure that impact is as soft as it can be. But nonetheless, it's going to be a challenge. I did want to turn things over to our business manager, to Chris Juswick, just to give a little bit of information with what he is hearing from his research and his professional communications that he has in regard to how the pandemic and the local state of the economy is going to have an impact on our budget. So Chris, if you could say a couple words there, please.
Sure. I'm jumping on right now. Some of the things that we've noticed, some of our concerns, as Dr. Kreider mentioned, local income tax, the expectation of where we're going to end up on that with so many folks unemployed at this moment and losing jobs as this pandemic gets further out. You know, that we've been discussing with some of our professional business manager organizations and other business managers, where if we cut this by 20% or lose 20% of the local income tax, we budget around $2 million. We would be at about $400,000 in revenue lost. You know, one of the other discussions they're having right now at the House is whether they're going to freeze property taxes. For a district of our size and our commitments, with, you know, so many expenses such as charter schools, special ed going up, charter schools, we spent $1.3 million, and I've said this before, we're up to $14,000 per student. So with us out having the ability to adjust our taxes and what the plan was with how the budget was currently built, if that property tax was froze, any adjustments on that, we'd lose around $500,000. If our collection rate falls by just 3%, which could be a possibility, that would be another $525,000. We're not discussing delinquent taxes, any of the funding from the state or federal. Right now, we're hearing the federal should hold, but or not the federal, excuse me, the state level should hold. We don't know what they'll do at the federal at that point. We are waiting to see what stimulus packages come out, but how everything's affected. But local tax alone, we could lose up to $1.4 million from what we're already budgeted. Currently, we have a budget about a $875,000 deficit. Even with some of these changes that were made today, you had that 1.4 on with the savings we've gotten from, you know, folks retiring and such. You know, we would be looking at a $1.8 million deficit, and what I would hope would be a worst case scenario. So that's just some of the challenges we face and where we have to get creative with what we do within the district is, you know, unfortunately with the school district, you're at about 72% with your employment costs. So it leaves you very little to cut outside. So if you take that on a $30 million budget, you take that 72%, which is around $22 million. That's that alone. You take another 1.3, 1.5 charter school tuition, and there's just costs you can't control, such as transportation. You have $2 million. So out of that, you're already up to almost $25.5 million. So it leaves you very little room. And there's several other costs we just don't have any control over, mandated with special ed and such. So, you know, our special ed budget, you're getting into $27 million. So like I said, you have very little room to move for any savings. So that's kind of where we're at. So if we take that big a hit in local tax revenue, it could be quite devastating for the district.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, Jim, that's, I think, as far as our reports, unless any other administrator has any other reports that they want to add in regard to curriculum or facilities or anything of that nature.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kreider. And our next item on the agenda is administrative reports, and I hope that we are all together sometime very soon where all of the principals and the staff can get up and share all of the great things happening in our physical buildings. So we'll look forward to seeing that from all of you sometime very soon. As far as committee reports go, I'll ask the board, because of the volume of content we have to cover tonight, if everyone is comfortable holding their committee reports until our next meeting. If there's a specific topic you think is urgent or has a timely nature to it, please speak up. You can raise your hand and I'll point to you. Otherwise, we'll forego the committee reports until our next meeting. Jude, you have something you want to share with us?
I do, Jim. The only thing I have is that the PSBA is working on putting together their legislative platform for 2020, 2021. And if we have proposals, they're due by June 30th. So if we're having these meetings every other month, now's the time to start working on any kind of proposal we might make. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Director Apple.
I have a bunch of stuff from Parkway since I was just at the meeting, but I will. I'll just try to keep it to the topic at hand, which is the challenge we're all facing as far as online education. You can imagine that for a career and technical center, that might be an even greater challenge. And I'm proud to say that Parkway West was proactive in coming up with 14 days of lesson plans before going online, and have hit the ground running, and are providing students with, it's not ideal, but providing students with learning content in their various program areas. And I would also say that Darby mentioned that they're prepared to continue providing online instruction for the remainder of the year, if necessary. And just to give you an idea of how well prepared they are out there, 31 other career and technical centers have, in some form or another, reached out to Parkway West to find out how they're doing things so that they can adopt some of the measures the Parkway has been doing. So our kids are well served, at least as well as can be under these difficult circumstances. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Any other director have any quick updates for their committees, or should we save the rest for next month? If not, Director Frank, Director Apple, thank you. Moving on to section 4 under the miscellaneous section of our agenda, I'll entertain a motion for 2 items. Number 1, motion to approve the resolution calling for charter school funding reform as submitted. And number 2, motion to approve and grant authority to the superintendent to make all necessary decisions and actions to pay all regular and necessary bills and invoices related to the operations of the district during the school closure due to the coronavirus pandemic without formal board approval, provided the superintendent collaborates with the board president and/or finance committee chair. The board will retroactively ratify these decisions and actions. Do I have a motion for those 2 items?
This is Chris. So moved.
This is Kelly, second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote, and if it's easy, would the board secretary want to take a roll call if that's easier?
Okay, Director Apple. Director Apple,
Yes.
Director Frank,
Yes.
Director Honchar,
Director Honchar actually had to leave for a family situation, so he is actually not on the meeting right now and probably won't be back for a half an hour.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
Director O'Brien,
Yes.
Director Russo,
Yes.
Director Simsik, Director Zaletsky,
Yes.
Director Shriver.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to section 5, finance. I will note a small typo in the first item. The correct dollar amount is in the attachment in the document, but I'll entertain a motion to approve all the items under section 5. Number 1, motion to approve the bills for the month of February 2020 in the amount of $774,128.16. Number 2, motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month of December 2019 as submitted. Number 3, motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month of January 2020 as submitted. Number 4, motion to approve the proposed 2020-2021 Allegheny Intermediate Unit Program of Services budget in the amount of $2,202,973. The AIU3 school district's total contribution to this budget is $1,811,545. The Carlynton School District contribution to the program of services budget is estimated to be at $19,814.48. and will be determined by PDE according to district aid ratio and weighted average daily membership. Number 5, motion to approve the agreement between the district and WL Roenick Inc. for general student transportation for the Carlynton School District for the 2020-2021 through 2024 to 25 school year per the terms of the presented agreement. Number 6, motion to approve the lease agreement between the district and the Wilson Group in the amount of $394,865.40 for workflow solutions for the 2020-2021 through 2024-2025 school year per the terms of the presented agreement, and by voiding the final months of the current agreement set to expire December of 2021. Number 7, motion to approve and accept a donation of $10,000 from the Wilson Group to fund the purchase of a new scoreboards for the junior senior high school gymnasium. And number 8, motion to approve the budget transfers for the month of March 2020 as presented. Number 9, motion to approve the 1-year renewal agreement for Power School eCollect and School Information System as presented in the amount of $24,701.04. And finally, number 10, to approve the district's notice of its adoption of the AIU's unit policy and procedure under the federal requirements as presented. Do I have a motion for those items 5.1 to 5.10?
This is Jude, so moved.
This is Leanne, second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye, or I apologize, Michelle, if you want to do a roll call again.
Director Zaletsky,
Yes.
Director Simsek,
Yes.
Director Mendoza, Director Honchar, oh, I'm sorry, he's gone. Director Apple,
Yes.
Director Frank,
Yes.
Director O'Brien,
Yes.
Director Russo,
Yes.
Director Shriver.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Under section 6, personnel, I'll entertain a motion to approve the following items. Number 1, 6.1, motion to approve Sarah Hoffman for the position of Director of Special Education and Pupil Services at a salary of $88,000, effective May 18th, 2020, and pending the receipt of all required paperwork and clearances. Number 2, to approve and award the position of 5th grade teacher at Crafton Elementary School to Robin Wenrick for the 2020-2021 school year, consistent with the terms of the CFT Collective Bargaining Unit Agreement. Number 3, to approve and award a temporary professional employee contract to elementary teacher Jordan Russos, effective February 12th, 2020, and consistent with the terms of the CFT Collective Bargaining Unit Agreement. Number 4, to approve the letter of intent to retire as submitted by high school teacher Frank Zabrowski, effective the last day of the 2019-2020 school year, and per the terms of the Early Retirement Incentive Memorandum of Understanding between the district and the Carlynton Federation of Teachers Collective Bargaining Unit Agreement. Number 5, to approve elementary teacher Alicia Booz for the position of homebound instructor for an elementary student for 5 hours per week, beginning March 2nd, 2020, for a duration of about 3 months at an hourly stipend of $40. Number 6, to approve and accept the letter of resignation from elementary lunchroom playground aide Teresa McCann, effective March 7th, 2020. Number 7, motion to approve the leave of absence as submitted by employee number CFT 1920-14. Item number 8, to approve Pamela Stone for an extended school year direct instruction position for a student. The instruction includes 6 half-hour sessions in reading and math between June 8th and August 7th, 2020 at the teacher's per diem rate under the terms of the CFT Collective Bargaining Unit Agreement. Number 9, to approve the resolution to abolish positions due to a drop in enrollment. And number 10, to approve the memorandum of understanding between the district and the CFT regarding online instruction for the 2019-2020 school year. Do I have a motion for those 10 items?
This is Kelly, so moved.
Thank you.
This is Jude, I
This is Leanne,
second.
second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. Are there any questions? If not, we'll vote. Board Secretary, would you mind doing the roll call again, please? Off of mute.
Director Simsek,
Yes.
Director Zalewski,
Yes.
Director Frank,
Yes.
Director Apple,
Yes.
Director Russo,
I abstain on item 6.3. I vote yes on all other items.
okay. Director Mendoza, Director Mendoza,
Yes.
and Director Shriver.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to section 7, we have student services.
Excuse me,
Yes.
I just want to advise Mr. Russo's that because that is a conflict of interest under the Ethics Act, that being his son, he will need to fill out a conflict of interest form at the end of the meeting. Well, we're not in the same building, so Mrs. Herman, if you could send Mr. Russo such a form, he can sign it and we can put that with the minutes.
Mr. Andrews, once I receive the form and fill it out and sign it, would it be sufficient for me to scan and email it back?
Yes, that would work.
Okay. Michelle, as soon as you can get it to me, I'll get it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bill. Moving on to section 7, I'll entertain a motion to approve the special education plan for the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2023, as submitted. Do I have a motion for that item?
This is Chris, so moved.
This is Leanne, second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. Again, Board Secretary, would you mind doing a roll call vote for us, please?
Director Russo, Director Russo,
Mute.
Sorry. Yes.
Director Apple,
Yes.
Director Frank,
Yes.
Director O'Brien,
Yes.
Director Zalewski,
Yes.
Director Simsek,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
Director Shriver.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Motion carries. I think that finishes off the agenda items. We go on to old business. Does any director have any old business that they would like to bring up for the benefit of the board? Seeing no one's hands raised. Oh, is there one? Nope. Okay. Any director have any new business they would like to bring up? Nope, not seeing anything. I'll move to open forum. Are there any remaining questions or comments from the public on any item?
There are not.
All right. Any board member have any
I
open
take that
forum
back.
items?
I take that back. Yes, there are. Just came in. Yes, I have one from Tom DiPetro. So I will allow him to speak at this time. Oh, maybe that was, well, he disappeared, so I'm guessing maybe he didn't want to talk. Eric, nope, there's Tom again. Okay.
Tom DiPietro.
Yes, DiPietro, yes.
Yep.
We good now?
Yes, you're good.
All right, thank you very much. Michelle, I forgot to say hello to you also when I said hello to the board. I hope you and Chip are doing well. Jim, thank you for your kind comments after my first talk, and I just want to ditto that back to you and the board. But I do have one question, and it concerns me about what the board is teaching our students and conveying to our parents and community. And please, this is no attack on any board member. I hope you don't take it that way. I just have a quick question. policies have to be followed by the superintendent, teachers, and students, and I assume the board. But I believe there was a policy that was not followed, and I'd like a valid explanation to why that was never done. And I guess if you want to know what the policy is,
I'm assuming, if you want to share with us which one you're referring to, yes, that'd be helpful.
the nepotism policy, Jim, why that was not followed. If somebody could give me a valid explanation.
Sure. So I'll give a brief explanation. I can turn to our solicitor who can add to that perhaps. And then I think it's also fair for David to address that himself. The board still does have a nepotism policy in place for various reasons. The way the hiring of the employee evolved, it changed the procedure for how the nepotism policy is applied. The policy still is in place, but maybe I'll pause and I'll turn to our solicitor. Mr. Andrews, do you have a better way to explain the topic?
Well, I don't know if it's better or not, but I will say this. The nepotism policy was followed in this particular case. The original nepotism policy provided as to a board member could not have a relative employed in either a professional or in a classified position. The board policy
He's breaking up.
Bill, yeah, Bill, if you're able to hear us,
having a board member's. Oh, I can hear you fine. I'm sorry. The nepotism policy does permit the hiring of a board member, as it is presently written, board member's relative, as a temporary professional employee, because by definition, that is neither a professional employee nor is it a classified employee who would not be permitted to be hired by the board. Mr. Russo's son served I'm sorry, take that back. Let me take a step back. I said temporary professional employee, I misspoke, as a substitute employee. The board policy does not preclude a hiring of a board member's relative as a substitute employee. When Mr. Jordan Russo's was hired for that position 2 years ago, and he served in that position. By serving into the second year, he became a member of the collective bargaining agreement. The collective bargaining agreement with the teachers specifically provides that in that second year, a substitute employee, assuming he has the proper qualifications, he or she is entitled to bid and be awarded a position within the district. That's by contract, and there is really nothing that can be done to prevent that. It's not governed by the nepotism policy. Mr. Russo's, when this item came up tonight, properly abstained under the Ethics Act. He could not vote because Jordan is in fact his son. So he did the proper legal thing and abstained and announced the reason for that abstention. The original action in hiring Jordan Russo's as a substitute did not violate the nepotism policy due to the exact language that was contained in that policy. That's the best explanation I can give, Mr. President.
So, Mr. Andrews, I was on the board at one time. I had a relative that was in the same position. And David, I'm glad Jordan is on our board, with our district now. Fine young man, I'm not disputing that, but I'm just questioning that when I was on the board, I had a relative who was in the same position as Jordan and was told that I had to resign my seat before he could accept any position. Can you please explain that?
I cannot and I will not. I was not the solicitor at that time. I don't know what the circumstances were, and I don't know what the advice was given. But I can't comment as to what position was taken by the solicitor at that point. I can only tell you how I interpreted the language of the nepotism policy and the language that was in the contract. I can't comment.
I've read that policy 2 times, and that's not what I interpret at all in that policy. So maybe our interpretations are quite different. So
I would add something, Tom. First of all, again, good to see you, and thank you for your very kind words about Jordan. One thing that I don't think was mentioned was that the policy was changed. The policy as it was originally in place when you were on the board, my understanding, required, in order for your nephew to be hired, required that you not be on the board. The change was made, I forget, 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, as Mr. Andrews explained, to allow for substitutes to be hired. With that, had that change been in effect when you were on the board, you would not have, my understanding is you would not have had to resign at that time.
I guess I just maybe have misread the policy or don't quite understand the language of the policy, David. So I just was looking for a valid explanation, that's all. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Josh, do you have another person that wishes to speak in open forum?
Yes, it's going to be Eric Valchef. Eric, yeah, you're on.
Yeah, you can hear me. Hello, everybody. Nice job tonight working through this. I just posted it in the comments in case you didn't get to it. I saw the online enrollment express and the additions to the student information system package. I think it's going to be a valuable tool to the district moving forward. The timing is good. The other addition that you have in there, I just want to call the board's attention to it. You have a subscription that you bought into called the PD Plus subscription. This is a wonderful, wonderful addition. Not something you need to sustain every year, but a wonderful addition to your program that I would encourage the board to explore the value of. It's a great way for your staff, teachers, administrators to really learn about the tool that you have and the benefits that it can bring to your community. And at the same time, it's a really neat way for your teachers and staff to engage with them being the student in the world of online learning, because they're just getting a crash course right now as we speak, right, in the delivery as the teacher. So it's a nice way for them to be the student a little bit and learn how some of that delivery is done. So great job, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate that. And Dr. Crichton, I'm sure, is taking notes on all those great suggestions you have. So thank you as always. Josh, is there anyone else that wishes to speak?
Yes, Josh Ficarelli would like to speak again. Josh, you are unmuted.
I am unmuted presently?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Good name, by the way. It's a strong name. Anyway, I just for clarification's sake for myself and everyone in virtual attendance, we kind of breezed by it. So all the categories under section 6, Jordan's hiring, Frank's retirement, homebound, etc., including these 6 positions up for elimination, have all been passed unanimously without further discussion. Is that what's being conveyed to the staff and the communities as a whole? Everything just passed without any further discussion, even based on all the communication set forth tonight. Am I understanding that properly?
Josh, I think you saw what transpired. The board has given great thought and considered all of the opinions, and we took action as per the administration's recommendations. We heard some feedback, and we appreciate that. We'll continue to take feedback and look to evolve things. But
so yes, the decision was made the decision was already made. The decision's made prior to the discussion, correct?
Jim, if I can, Josh, we've given a lot of thought to this. We've put a lot of time into this. We've relied heavily on our administration's assessment of all of this. We've listened to everyone speak. We take everybody's opinion very seriously. Speaking for myself, I felt it was still the correct thing to do. Certainly, it is not correct to make the assumption that this was already decided ahead of time, that the discussions that and comments provided to us during the evening were not considered by all the directors. This was very thoughtfully done. It is what we believe is in the best interest of the district. And at this point, we just need to move forward with the direction that the district has voted on taking.
All right. Well, I respectfully disagree, but I understand that your decisions are what they are. I just needed clarification for my own sake.
And you've got it. And thank you again for your comments. Thank you.
Yours as well, Mr. Russo.
Director Mendoza?
So it was really important to me to hear what everyone had to say. I read all the emails. I listened to everyone tonight. When I sit on this board, I'm sitting on this board as a mother with 2 kids with disabilities. I'm also a school psychologist in a public school. I'm a doctorate level, and I'm also on the adjunct faculty at the graduate program at CalU for school psychology. Everyone, what they said tonight were definitely the things that were on my mind as we went through this process. Mental health with this increased unexpected pandemic, the stress that's coming with it. I'm at home with my kids too, and I'm also working from home as a school psychologist. So I'm very aware of those needs. It does break my heart hearing how other kids are also experiencing this. So when these tough decisions come before me, I hope that the community knows that when I sit in this seat, it's as a representative. I am like the other parents that have kids actively in the district. I do have a son with autism, which is a very difficult thing, difficult with schedule changes. So these are all things that are on my mind. It sounds blunt and it may sound like cold that we just went forward without thinking. It was a lot of thinking. But I also want to reassure people that as we get these decisions, it's not about cutting for money. It's about being efficient in what we're spending. And I'm learning also in my own district that there's more than one way to skin a cat. In my own district, we're integrating SEL into the curriculum. As a psychologist, I do have my own elementary school building. I'm in the classroom, I do teacher consultation, I do special ed, but I also do individual, group, pair counseling with students who are not in special ed. So it's very comprehensive. The whole point of this is that we're trying to preserve our services. So eliminating positions in itself doesn't mean firing people. It doesn't mean that we're seeking to diminish services or supports to our students. The whole game of it is we're trying to preserve it and in fact better it if we could. It's hard sitting on the audience and not getting to see all the pieces, but this is why we lean on our staff, our admin, to help guide us and give us information. And then also the public, because this is why I'm sitting in the seat, because I am a community member. I don't know if that's worth much to anybody, but I hope for some of the parents that contacted me, I wanted to make sure that they heard me say that I listened to things that they said.
Well, I appreciate that, Mrs. Mendoza. And once again, my blanket statement will be, I professionally disagree with the decisions, but again, I don't wear the crown that you guys chose to wear. So I understand you have to make the decisions that you make. For simple clarification purposes, I just wanted to make sure I understood the nuances of the meeting and that everything that was talked about for 90 minutes had been approved, if you will. So once again, it's not my place. I can only voice my professional opinion and my expertise in the field, as did other people. But again, as I said in my letter, I don't envy any of your positions. I don't mean to sound crass. I just needed clarification for my own sake. So once again, thank you.
I'm glad you participated in this, Mr. Fick. I mean, Charlie and Eric were both at Crafton Elementary. I mean, this is all personal. A lot of you guys, a lot of the teachers live in this community. And so it's just, as we go through these decisions, I hope people realize that we as parents and people in our community, we wouldn't just make decisions without thinking ahead, without asking. We ask your questions. Any parent that comes up to me, I bring those questions to board meetings and then our exec, and I ask them. So we ask, what's the next 5 to 10 steps that is gonna like make this okay? Like, why are we taking this first step? Where is it leading us? So I wouldn't do anything without believing that we are gonna get to a better place. And I'm kind of sad, like 60 people already left the meeting to not hear even this portion and discussion. Because like you said, it went fast where the vote is, but this is still important. Hearing you even post-vote, this still affects what the next 5 steps are gonna be. So I'm glad you participated, Mr. Fick.
Well, I'm unmuted now. Thank you. I wasn't sure when I was and when I was not muted, but thank you. I am disappointed that as many people left as they did and it wasn't available on the YouTube for everybody to see. But again, you guys are elected officials tasked with making these decisions. That's the crown you wear. I appreciate your explanation at least.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you to everybody who provided comment tonight. We do value your opinions and your input. And as Dr. Kreider noted, we always have an open invitation for the community to come and join us at our meetings. We value your input, your feedback. We want to partner even more strongly with you moving forward. So hope to see you at future meetings. Our next meeting is perhaps yet undefined because of the whole virus situation, but stay tuned and keep an eye on our website, and we'll post something soon. Hopefully it can be in person, but more than likely it's going to be a remote video conference like this. So thank you again for everybody's participation, and everybody stay safe.